In this video, we will discuss economic moats and develop a perspective as to where they fit in or how they fit in. So let's start. So first, what is investing? So in investing, we buy an asset by putting in money now, thinking that the asset will generate more money in the future. And for this, we buy profitable companies with good product or services. But the main question is, how would we know that customer will keep buying these products or services which our company is offering? And for this, companies need to have durable competitive advantage or strength. So important thing is when we are evaluating a company, that company should be profitable and it should have durable competitive advantage. Now let's look at great business. So for great business, being profitable is just being profitable is not enough. It should have higher return on invested capital, because finally it matters how much capital the company is using to generate that profit, because that is what decides the rate of return which the company is generating. Therefore, great companies should generate higher return on invested capital. The other quality should be, the first thing is it should have great product or service which it is offering to the customer. It should have higher return on invested capital. It should be generating lot of cash because the product and services are so good that people are paying for it. And it should be able to raise price. And normally a great business will have low or no debt because it is generating so much of cash. So once we identify great businesses, the question is, what will ensure that customer will keep on buying this product or services in future? And for this, we need to evaluate moat or competitive strength. So moats have three possibilities. First is competition is just not able to produce and offer the same product or services which the company is offering. The second possibility is competition can produce and offer the same product or service but not at the same price. And third possibility is competition can produce and offer same product or service even at lower price, but customers won't buy it. So what will create these kind of possibilities? That is what we will evaluate. So the first one is competition can just not produce and offer same product or service. So what it means is basically a monopoly kind of situation. So that could come from having access to key raw material. It could be, for example, data is very important. Google has lot of data, that is its competitive strength. Or it could be long-term contracts. For example, in India, power sector companies, if they have long-term contract for coal supply or long-term contract with the distribution companies to purchase electricity, it's a competitive advantage. The second is network effect. So as network keeps on growing, it becomes more and more valuable to existing as well as new customers. So network effect normally works when the company is first mover and the network gets built, for example Facebook, and then there should be a switching cost. Otherwise, if people are able to switch easily, then it may or may not last. Even stronger possibility is a marketplace. So a marketplace like eBay. So where we have two-sided network effect. You have buyers also and you have sellers also. And once this kind of network gets formed and marketplace gets created, then it becomes winner takes all kind of situation, and it kind of creates a monopoly. Other possibility is the company has a patent or technology which other companies don't have. Or it could be a franchisee kind of license. For example, Coca-Cola bottler or Pepsi bottler, or it could be McDonald. And in rare cases, it could be the culture also, because in general, culture is very difficult to replicate. And in rare cases, it could give a monopoly kind of situation. For example, Berkshire Hathaway has created a kind of monopoly in terms of being the preferred buyer by many founders. They want to sell their companies only to Berkshire Hathaway. So this was where the competition is just not able to produce and offer same product or service. Let's look at the second case where competition is able to produce and offer same product and service, but not at your price. Their price is higher. So it means you are more like lowest cost producer, and it could be because of economy of scale, because economy of scale, it gives you low marginal cost. The second is access to key raw material. For example, if you have 100-year-old land or access to your own mines. Third possibility is you have such an advanced technology that your cost of production is very low. For example, Tesla. The next could be lowest cost of capital. That also could be advantage in certain situation. For example, if company has negative working capital, subscription based model, or people are paying in advance for purchase, it could lead to negative working capital. That could be a huge advantage. The scale, economy of scale is not an ordinary advantage. It's huge actually. So scale, it gives you so many advantage. First is lower marginal cost. Second is it allows for specialization of workforce. Same person doesn't have to do 3-4 things. So division of labor works and increases your efficiency. Third is it generates distribution network. You can spend more on advertisement. You can spend more on innovation, technology, training. You can attract and retain better talent. You will have lower cost of capital. Banks would be willing to lend you money. And you will be able to extract better terms with your suppliers. So economy of scale itself is a huge advantage, which can reduce your cost, and it's a sustainable competitive advantage in many cases. Now let's look at third situation where customer would not buy even at lower price. So customer would prefer your product or services. So it could be because of you have a great brand, or it could be there is a switching cost, or third, it could be because of information insufficiency. So let's look at B and C first, and then we will look into the great brand. So switching cost is a huge competitive advantage. It could come from money, in the sense, if customer wants to switch to a different product or service, then customer will have to incur huge expense. For example, software as a service. If a company is subscribing to a software as a service and wants to change it, then it will have to implement it as a project, and then it will need to have new technology skill set. Same is with database. If you want to change database, you will have to implement a project which will change database. Moving data from one database to another database, it will have huge risk of data getting corrupted. And third is technology. If a company wants to change technology, again it needs to be implemented with a project. It will have constraint in terms of skill set and all that. So money is one strong switching cost. Second could be comfort and status quo. If there is a addiction to the product or service, or there is a habit which got built, then it could be to a flavor or a taste, or it could be to a experience. So there'll be a natural resistance to change and switch over to another product. The third possibility is that switching over takes effort, it requires time, and it requires you to go through discomfort. For example, you will have to learn a new app or new website when you change a bank or you change a broker, or you might have to meet and interact with new people. So comfort and status quo is again a very strong switching cost. And third is perception of risk. So if there is an uncertainty in terms of if you change the product or service, and there is an uncertainty whether it will work or not, and it can generate fear or fear of regret, then it becomes a resistance to switching. For example, you might not want to share your KYC data with again a new company, or you don't want to share your financial data, or you don't want to change your insurance because you think you are already with this insurance for 5 years, and new insurance again, higher chances of your claim getting rejected. Or there could be some tax implication. If you sell your mutual fund or shares, then you'll have to incur tax. Now coming to information insufficiency. This also could be a competitive advantage which kind of forces customer to choose your product or services. So the conditions are that there is a fear of negative consequence, and you are not knowledgeable on that particular field or area. For example, if you have to go through some kind of surgery, or doctor, you want to go to a particular doctor, a medicine which is being prescribed by the doctor, you don't have sufficient knowledge on any of these areas, and the consequences of personal health is um, very risky, and it is applicable to college degree also. People want to go to the best college, best branch and all, and they don't want to question it. So there are many examples. So this was in terms of individual customer or human being. In terms of companies, B2B kind of business, if there is a fear of negative business consequences and there is less information about that particular product or services, and comparatively the cost is low for that particular product or service which you are using, then it could lead to the customer choosing your product or services because information insufficiency is working in your favor. For example, oil well, you know, you are drilling 200, 300, 500 feet down, and you don't want to risk a pump failure there. Or you might be in a business in which you are launching rockets. So if it fails, the cost is so high, you don't mind buying a product which is little more costly. So this was information insufficiency, which kind of forces customers to choose your product or services. Now coming to brands, great brands. Okay. So before we go into great brands, let's understand that product or services could fall into different categories, and these are the possible categories which I came up with. Product or service could be basic need. It is a utility based consumption. For example, food items, staples, or utilities, electricity, mobile, internet, petrol, diesel, gas, your sleepers, basically chappals. So here it doesn't matter to you which mobile subscriber you are using, right? It doesn't matter which petrol you are using from which petrol pump. The second is aspiration based consumption. It is more like movies, restaurant, theme parks, cars, vacation, party. Third is mandatory consumptions. For example, school, colleges, medicines, any addiction you might have. Luxury item. Again, it could be expensive car, vacation, expensive watch, villas, farmhouse, iPhone, business class, hotels. Then you have another category which is fear-based consumption, hospitals, medicines, anything related to children, pet. And finally, love and care-based consumptions. It could be anything which you lovingly want to do for your baby or your child or your pet. Right? So these are some of the categories which I came up with. Doesn't mean these are the only categories, but for our understanding purpose, if we see the difference between these products is that the utility based consumption, it is it could be either need based or it becomes habit, reflexive, convenience, or provide comfort, right? For example, UPI, it has become a need and it provides convenience. It has become reflexive also. Aspiration based consumption, right? So here we choose. It is not um, it is not mandatory. You decide whether you want to go to the movie or a particular restaurant or not. In mandatory consumption, for example, school, college, medicine, there is no choice, but there is an acceptance of the cost. And then luxury items, these are basically more like a show off. They are a lifestyle item. And in many cases, it can become part of your identity. Fear-based consumption, there is no choice, and there is a fear or fear of regret. And love and care-based consumption, here you you're happy to make choice. You're happy to spend money for your child or baby or your pet. So because of this, these are the categories where it might be relatively easy to increase price. And in the first category, it would be difficult to raise price. But this is my assessment. I have not verified it. This is just a framework which I'm developing. So let's look at some of the example. But before we look at the example, we need to understand that the stickiness to the brand differs from product to product. So example could be, there is a great brand and it has a unique flavor. For example, chocolates, sneakers, or it could be tea or coffee, right? So people prefer the same flavor because they have developed a taste for it. The great brand, it serves a basic need, it is very low cost item, and it's consumed regularly, and it has become reflexive. For example, Coca-Cola. Third could be, it is a aspiration based item. It is not used regularly, and there is a choice. You choose it whether you want to spend money or not, and it provides a particular taste or experience or feeling, right? For example, going to an expensive restaurant, you don't go frequently and you choose whether to go or not and which restaurant you go. The third could be a luxury item which would be expensive. There is a scarcity, everyone doesn't have it. If you make it difficult to get, for example Ferrari, and you make it a show off item, part of your identity, Ferrari becomes part of my identity, then stickiness increases. The next is, there is a great brand and there is a word of mouth, anything related to baby, child or pet, because we normally ask our friends, which product to buy for our child. And it could be something which is a healthy product and there is a social proof for that, and your child asks for it or pet demands it, right? So you are happy to spend that money because you get feeling that you are getting feeling of being loved or loving someone. So these are some of the examples of different products which will have different kind of um, stickiness from the customer and different strength in terms of brand as a competitive strength. So there would be many more variation which would be there. So let's recap what we discussed so far about moats. So moats could be a monopoly, or it could be a lowest cost producer, or it could be a great brand, or there could be switching cost or information insufficiency. Let's look at monopoly. So monopoly can come from network effect plus switching cost, or marketplace platform kind of situation, or it could come from a franchisee, Coca-Cola or Pepsi. It could come from culture also in rare cases, and it could be coming from patent or technology or having access to key raw material. So all these contribute to having a monopoly kind of situation. The second is, lowest cost producer can also come from a technology or having access to key raw material, or it could come from economy of scale or having lowest cost of capital. Great brand, it could be reflexive, it could be habit, it could be addiction also. Not that every brand or every product needs to aspire to be addictive, but anything which has become addictive is very sticky. Or it could be a part of identity in case of luxury items, and it should have word of mouth, because we normally don't trust anything new, but we tend to ask people we know what to buy when we don't know. Switching cost could be in the form of money, effort, time, comfort zone, or it could come from perception of risk. Information insufficiency, it could come from dreaded consequences. So you would stick to the brand you are comfortable to avoid fear or fear of regret. So if we look at individual here, we have kind of covered 10 or 11 different modes, and now these modes are not mutually exclusive. Company can have multiple modes, and it can fall into any of these categories and maybe some other also. For example, there could be a company which has great brand, marketplace, it has economy of scale, and it has lowest cost. And if you see, all of this are present in Amazon. It is a great brand, it has become a marketplace, it has economy of scale, one of the largest company in the world, and they focus on having very low cost. So it becomes a great combination in terms of modes. Now, another important thing to understand about modes is that we can create a distinction, between modes in one very important way. So what Warren Buffett calls is, do I need to be smart only once, or do I need to be smart every day? Which is really difficult, right? So if you have a moat where you have to achieve that status of moat only once, and then it works in your favor. Why? Because some durable constraint or some force is working in your favor once you have achieved that status, or the time is in your favor, whatever is time you have spent. For example, a great brand, it takes decades to build it. Economy of scale, right? Once you have achieved it, you can sustain it, and other competitors cannot achieve it easily. Or marketplace, which is more like a monopoly. Network effect, same thing. So here, once you have achieved a moat, it is more durable. Whereas other type of mode could be where I need to perform difficult, challenging task every day. Every day is going to be, I need to prove myself. And it has many points of failure. For example, retail business or any business which has no switching cost for the customer. If customer is able to switch easily from one company to another, then there is ideally no mode, at least not durable mode. So let's look at the overall perspective as to where everything fits in. So as a company, we would like to increase the trust on our product and services, and we would like to increase value for the customer. Whether we like it or not, if we increase, customer would be more happy. We should be able to offer lower cost, increase choices, increase convenience, and improve the experience, especially feeling level experience could also be a competitive advantage. So these are the focus area where we can retain customer. And with all of this, we want our product or services to become a reflexive choice for the customer, or it becomes a habit, even better. Addiction, controversial, but finally it is good as a competitive edge. And there should be strong mind share in the customer so that customer would recommend your product to other customers through word of mouth. Or you want to establish yourself as a rare luxury brand. And if you have a switching cost and information insufficiency working for you, nothing like it. But I doubt this can be created. So this is where the focus should be in terms of building competitive strength. And if there are two or more forces supporting and sustaining each other, which are leading to these consequences or these effects, then it could be a very powerful status. You know, the feedback loop is working for you. For example, economy of scale shared. So as the company becomes bigger and bigger, it is able to procure more and more goods to the for the customer. For example, Costco or DMart, they are able to procure more and more goods, and therefore they can demand lower prices from the suppliers. And if they offer that lower prices by further lowering the price to the end customer also, then customer would be happy and more customers would buy your goods and services, and your scale will become even bigger, and then you will be able to further reduce the cost. So if two or more forces are supporting each other and sustaining each other to result into any of these effects which are valuable to the customer, then it could be a very powerful moat. So that is all. Thank you for watching and listening. Have a nice day.